All right, guys, welcome back to the channel. We got to take a look at a spicy conversation that happened between Piers Morgan and a woman by the name of Imarn Aiton, who I guess we could classify as a pro-black activist. And shout out to Esther, who also appeared on the panel. But the discussion they having is around, I guess, a new trend or a new series of events going on in the UK where they having blackout nights that are performative art events where only black people are supposed to be there spectating. It's supposed to be a performative arts event free from the white gaze. That's their quotes, by the way. I'm not making that up. Free from the white gaze, where black people can go and watch performative arts. It's basically performative arts meant specifically for black folks in the UK. Now, before I kick this off, I'm going to go out on a limb and say that Piers Morgan is going to say something along the lines of, what if the roles were reversed and, you know, there was a white-only performative arts event where it was supposed to be free from the black gaze or the minority gaze, and, you know, it was a performative arts event only allowed for white people. Everyone would call that racist. There's no way that white people could get away with that today. Absolutely no way. It don't matter if you're in the UK or in America. There's no way that event could happen without heavy scrutiny. So yeah, that's my guess. If I was a betting man, I put money on it that Piers Morgan is going to say that, if not in the beginning, at some point of this video. And I look forward to seeing how this Imarn Aiton woman responds to that. So we're about to get into this. Don't forget to like, comment, share, and subscribe while we watching. Now let's roll it.
New trend is sweeping theatre land in the UK and US. Blackout performances are dedicated to black-only audiences. Those who are not black are asked not to buy tickets. The Theatre of Royal Stratford East in London says no one's excluded from attending their new show, Tambo and Bones, but promotional material makes clear that white people aren't wanted at the production on the night in question. Says a blackout night is a purposeful creation of an environment in which an all black identified audience can experience and discuss an event in performing arts free from the white gaze.
So let me pause and get a freeze frame on this. All black identifying audience. I have not heard the term black identifying. That's a new one for me. And yeah, it says free from the white gaze. So yeah, I mean, read it and weep. If the roles were reversed on this, it would not look good. But, you know, they do stuff like this and events like this. The justification for it comes under the premise that, you know, black people are oppressed by white people. So that's why they do stuff like this and they say things like this, because people who say things like this feel as if, or think as if, they are oppressed by white people and by whiteness. Whiteness is bad. Whiteness is this. Whiteness is that. I've heard it all on the internet at this point. So people who think like that will say things like this. It's justified by them feeling that they are oppressed by white people. So they need a space, I guess, where white people aren't allowed. But this seems regressive. You know, it's a saying that history doesn't repeat itself, but it rhymes. So yeah, I mean, this just seemed regressive. I mean, if you go back into the day, you know, speaking of America, Jim Crow, there was, you know, we all remember it was signs where only whites was allowed, and it was a black only. It was, you know, it was space for blacks and it was space for whites. We was segregated. It rhymes. This rhymes with that. You know, this is supposed to be a space, an event where it's free from the white gaze. So it's almost like, you know, the roles have reversed. History don't repeat itself, but it's rhyming right here. But let's keep it going.
From the white gaze. So does this mean I can go if I identify as a black man? There would be someone on the woke side who would have, well, they have trouble disagreeing with that, given they believe in limitless self-identity. But it is, more importantly, is it ever okay to exclude audiences based on skin color? What would happen, for example, if it was the other way around? If this was a white-only audience? Well, I'm joined by the Talk TV contributor Esther Krakow. And
I know everybody remember when Piers Morgan identified as a black lesbian.
Okay, why can't I identify as a black lesbian?
Well, firstly, I mean, it was.
Well, I'm serious. If I can identify as anything without any need to prove I'm actually what that is, why can't I, on International Women's Day, say I'm Piers Morgan, I'm a black lesbian?
Let's keep it rolling.
the Black Lives Matter organiser and activist Iman Aidens. All right, Iman, I'm just trying to picture what would happen if I put on a theatrical production in London and it said it was for whites only, or people identifying as white, which is obviously a ludicrous phrase, but you would go nuts. You would say that is blatant racism, segregation, dragged us kicking and screaming back to the dark days of appalling bigotry. You would.
Well, it depends on the context, right?
There's no whites-only audience.
It depends on the context.
No black people allowed. What would you say?
Well, I think you're perfectly right. It would be akin to racists finding more ways to be more racist.
So why is it okay this way around?
Okay, so we have to put it into context. It was 1 out of the 29 shows.
Doesn't matter.
Yes, it does. Let's put it into context, Piers. You want to forget about context. Context is everything. It is 1 out of the 29 shows that was targeted towards black people. And at no point did they say certain people were not excluded. In fact, they actually said it verbatim on their website. No one is excluded, and yet you have found racism.
No. I just read the rest of what they said. It's pretty clear. You are not supposed to go if you're not black.
No, please consider.
Yeah. So, I mean, I saw that in the beginning, too. It says that nobody is excluded, but it's supposed to be free from the white gaze. I mean, those things kind of just, they counter each other. It's like nobody's excluded, all right, but it's supposed to be free from the white gaze. So, you know, it's giving mixed signals is what it's giving. It's definitely giving mixed signals.
Supposed to go if you're not black.
No, please consider booking other dates.
Right, exactly.
I think the context. You're right. The context is important. I think the issue here is when it's talking about sort of blackouts, and it's trying to gather an audience of black people that they believe have the same experience.
Right. Exactly.
This doesn't transpose the same way it does in the US and the UK, right? A black person in the UK could be black African, black British, black from the Caribbean, right? In the US, the conversation around race is completely different, and that's why it's a problem. Obviously, when you bring this to the UK, people are going to be like, what are you talking about? This is, especially in London, the most multicultural city in the country.
Can you see any merit to it?
Of course.
Yeah, okay, I got to agree with what Esther said. The context of black and blackness is different, when you're talking about the UK and the US. I could definitely see this as being something that started here and probably worked this way over there. I'm just going off on a limb and saying it, but this definitely sounds like something that us black Americans probably started. I mean, correct me if I'm wrong.
But I don't even think it makes sense in the American context.
Why is that? If you're talking about safe spaces, because let's just be clear, we're talking about safe spaces.
Because I think
what do you mean safe space? What does that mean?
Okay, so
you wouldn't feel safe if I came along?
No. Again, context. We're talking about a play that was done by black people, for black people, targeted for black people.
So
what? 1 out of the... Again, let's just be clear, because you're clearly not getting this message. It is basically akin to the disabled community putting on 29 shows, and 29 shows about disabilities, and then one of those shows is targeted towards the disabled community. That is what it is akin to, and yet you have a problem. Why is that, Piers? Have you genuinely asked yourself
I mean, I hear what she's saying. So she basically saying that they put on 29 shows or whatever that everybody could come, and I guess they didn't put out this message prior. But for this specific show, they saying, all right, we don't want the white gaze at this show. Not the white gaze, that play on words right there. But the difference in the analogy that she trying to make is, if it was a show about disabled people, I don't think they would do a show where they said something like, we only want disabled people to show up. You know what I mean? And that's kind of where I'm not understanding. If you want people to, I guess, understand the plight or whatever of black people, whether it be in America or in the UK, how do you get them to understand or empathize if you are, like, in a sense, kind of barring them from going to a show, and you don't want to exclude them? You're saying, we don't want your gaze here. That's a little bit divisive.
Difference between disabilities or disabled community or Jewish, but when it comes to black,
my problem is that you have already conceded that if it was the other way round, and this was a whites-only night of this theatrical performance,
Context.
you would say
Context.
racist.
Context.
And that's my
Safe
problem.
Spaces.
It's
Safe spaces.
it's
What
the
black
double
people are
standard.
disproportionately
Can I
affected
just
by
ask
racism,
why-
so therefore it's about safe spaces. This play
I don't
is about...
think-
I want to know under what context would she be okay with a white only, no black gays event? What's the context where that would be okay? In my mind, I imagine it being something where they're like teaching white people to be less racist or something like that. She'd probably be okay with an only white event there in that case.
racism.
I don't
so
think-
therefore, we should have a safe space for black people as we are disproportionately affected by
patronising
racism.
then?
I don't think
No,
you
it's
tackle.
not.
I
You
don't.
wouldn't say that to a woman.
No.
You wouldn't say that to a
Yes, I
woman if she
would.
was talking about abuse and therefore she wanted and they wanted and she wanted
All right,
a safe
let Esther
space.
respond.
I'm sorry.
You wouldn't say that.
The idea of safe spaces and black people needing safe spaces is
When
extremely
talking about
patronising.
racism. But when talking about racism,
Okay,
Let her
but
finish.
what about
It
Asian?
isn't.
What about
It
Asian
isn't.
people? Do Asian people need safe spaces
when
from
talking,
racism?
when talking
No, do
about
Asian
racism,
people-
when
No, but they-
I'm
oh, come
answering
on,
your
but we don't
question.
have those
When
conversations.
talking
Let
about
Esther
when,
finish.
No, she just asked me a question, so I'm answering it. When talking about Asian racism, I think they deserve a bit of a safe space. When they're talking
who?
about
From-
their
from
own
who?
experiences,
From black people or from white
all,
people?
From all types of people that are going
Really?
to
All right, let
promote
Esther-
judgment,
Esther.
because it's about being free of judgment.
Esther, let me
I'm
ask you.
sorry, I
Esther,
think
let me ask.
So people need a space. So every race needs a space where they could talk about their racial, their issues, their ethnic issues of racism, free of judgment. Everybody needs this safe space. I mean, everybody that's like every black person or every Asian or every, Hispanic, they don't even all have the same experiences. I'm not really a big fan of the whole safe space thing. I think you got to learn how to operate within reality and learn how to operate within the world. You get too comfy in a safe space, then that's when you become sheltered and you don't really understand what the real world is like. In the real world, I don't care how much diversity, equity, and inclusion or whatever training you try to do. In the real world, unfortunately, it is people that might not rock with you because of the color of your skin. It's people who might not rock with you because of, negative things that they see people of your skin color doing. And, they might view you as the same, kind of lump you in the same with a stereotype. That's just the way the world works. I mean, I think that's how we all grew up as, people of color being stereotyped to some extent. But, you got to learn how to operate within that. And you got to understand that and it's really changing nowadays as well. But every white person, doesn't just look at you as a black person as some sort of stereotype. But the stereotype that is growing when it comes to black people is like this woke stereotype where we see ourselves as victims and, white people think that they got to tiptoe around us and you can't say this or you can't say that. I'd much rather just be around somebody, a white person, Hispanic, whatever, that just treat me as if I'm a human. Don't act like, don't tiptoe around me and, I got to watch what I say here and there. Like, no, just be yourself. You know what I mean? Just be yourself. But like I said, everybody has different thresholds of sensitivity when it comes to racial issues, I guess.
Free of white
Hang-
judgment,
Mark,
free of
Mark,
Asian
Mark,
judgment,
let
free
Esther-
of all types.
Let somebody
of
else speak,
judgment.
please.
No, I'm going to.
Or we're going to have a
Happily.
safe space where you get removed so that only I can hear her speaking.
Happily, and I'll say bye to you both.
I will have a one night only
Happily.
Piers.
Happily, I'll say bye to
Only
you both. I'll
Piers.
see you on Saturday. I'll say bye
I'll
to
have,
you.
I'll
and
have
I
one
won't
night
be
of the
back,
show
no
where
problem.
only I am allowed to speak and you're not allowed to because of your skin colour. How would you like that?
Well, that's called racism.
Exactly.
isn't it?
Exactly my point.
No, it's not. It's
Esther, let me
completely
ask you
different.
this. What would most black friends of yours or family think about this? I mean, in other words, is it something where a lot of black people might go, you know what, actually, I can see some merit to this?
They would see it as an American importation, right?
Does that mean necessarily a bad thing?
I think that it would.
No, it's not.
It would be seen as ridiculous, but ridiculously, particularly American, right? Because black people are not a monolith, which we can all agree on. Black people come from various parts of the world; they have different
But they
cultures.
share similar
This idea that there is a shared black experience,
But they
I think,
share
is
similar-
ludicrous.
but they
Other
do.
than the color
They
of our
do.
skin,
No,
but I
they
don't.
do.
But you have
But
to
you
accept there are many connotations you're adding to
But
that.
by your own
I could
testament,
say
you
that.
said
I
that
could
we
say
have
that
shared
as a black
experiences
person, I
by
faced more racism from Asian and Middle Eastern people, so I should have a safe space from those people. Can you even
That's if you want to
identify
be
them?
specific.
No,
If
but
you
that's
want to be specific, you have the right to
ridiculous.
I don't think.
You
Okay,
have
let
the
me
right to do
interrupt.
that if you've been
Let me speak.
abused. You
I
have the
don't
right-
think.
Yeah, shout out to Esther. She cooking, and I mean, just the back and forth that they having proves that just because you black, like blackness ain't a monolith, and just because it's two black people, that don't mean that they have the same experiences or think the same or you know what I'm saying, see the world the same. Clearly, this is like I said, somebody who pro-black, more on the wokey woke side, and Esther don't really strike me as such. She definitely doesn't.
Any form of art should ever be exclusionary on the grounds of skin color, regardless of who it's targeted to or who it's made by.
We're talking about race
The
equity.
whole point of art is it should be for everybody.
But we're talking about race equity.
For everybody. No.
Context.
I don't. No, it's not right. There's nothing racially equal about this.
Yes.
It's racially unequal. You're saying no white people can come.
Context.
It's ridiculous.
What's the play about, Piers?
I've heard your art.
What's the play
It
about?
doesn't matter what it's
Yes,
about.
it does.
It
And
doesn't.
that's your issue. You want to negate context. And
No,
there is no
it doesn't
argument
matter if
from both of us without context. You know this, and yet you try to negate it.
No,
every
I don't
single
know
time
this.
here.
No, you
Deal
can't.
with the context. And if you
You
can't deal with it, don't come with an
You
argument.
can't tell
Deal
me.
with the context.
You can't tell me what I'm
No,
thinking.
exactly. But that's
right?
what you do to me.
Or what my opinion
And that's what
is.
people like you do to me.
People like
and
me?
Yes.
What do you mean
yes,
people like me?
Prejudice. Racially prejudiced people like yourself. That's what you do. That's why we need safe spaces.
You're calling me racially prejudiced.
I've done that several times, Piers. Why are you surprised?
Why are
What's
you
going
saying
on?
that?
Ignorance doesn't actually suit you.
That's ignorant, actually.
No,
what you
no,
just
it's
said.
not. I've just told you
I'm
that
not
several
racially
times.
prejudiced.
Okay,
And what
so
you just said
what's
is very
prejudice,
offensive.
Piers?
And you
What's
shouldn't be
prejudice,
saying
Piers?
that.
Piers, what's prejudice?
Huh?
What's prejudice?
If
You've
you're
been
racially
learning.
prejudiced, you are a racist.
What's prejudice?
That's what you just called
You've
me.
been learning. What's
I'm not
prejudice?
accepting that. Sorry.
What's prejudice?
Esther, will you go and watch this?
Swiftly
No,
move
but I'm
on.
No, I don't think you should be calling me a racist.
Swiftly move on.
Esther don't want no part of this blackout night.
Ridiculous.
I've done it several times, and yet you have a problem.
then you're
with the
wrong
third
every time.
I did it last year. You're talking
Well,
about
good
it
for
today as
you.
if it's a new surprise. It's,
It's a-
not.
it's-
I told you last year you were racially
it's a
prejudiced, and I'm
lazy-
telling you again
it's a
today.
lazy
and yet
thing
you
to
have no
say.
argument.
It's a
That's
lazy
your
thing to
argument.
say.
Lazy thing to say. Well done.
Because I'm
Piers.
not
You're doing
racially
well.
prejudiced. Never
You're doing
have
well.
been.
What's racial prejudice, Piers?
It's being a
Answer the
racist.
question. Answer the question.
It's judging
And that's
people
what you do.
prejudicially
That's what you
on their
do.
skin colour.
That's what you
Actually,
do.
rather
That
like
is
what this
what
theatrical
you
production
do.
is doing.
Wow. So she just straight up calling Piers Morgan a racist. Like, that's what he does. He's racially prejudiced. But then again, this is the type of person that would probably, and I guess I'm guessing here, but this is the type of person that would probably say something along the lines of, white people are racist without knowing it, unconscious bias, stuff like that. But yeah, guys, to wrap up, if you ask me, this interview is a testament to the fact that all black people aren't a monolith. Like Esther said, you got two black women on the stage who are disagreeing and debating each other on a lot of different things, who don't exactly see eye to eye on the black experience or what's considered to be racist and prejudice and this, that, and the third. I understand why Piers Morgan is calling it racist. Me personally, though, I'm not a big fan of calling this racist and calling that racist. I mean, I understand the argument. If you put the shoe on the other foot, we would call it racist. But I don't know. I just don't like screaming and crying out racism all the time. It kind of just sounds. It sounds like what the social justice warriors do. I don't really like to play that game. That if they can do it, I can do it too game. But I understand the argument that he's making. If the roles were reversed, yeah, everybody would be coming out of the woodwork saying, "Oh, that's racist. You can't have a white-only event." But yeah, let me know what you thought about this in the comments down below. Please let me know. Don't forget to like, comment, share, and subscribe when you're at the door. Hit that notification bell. I'm out of here, you guys. Until next time, peace.